Hello there. Hello. So I was talking about, I think it was in my other channel called Divine Beingness. And I was talking about how love comes within, comes from within. And I've said talked a few times about unconditional self-love. And when you have unconditional self-love, it's hard for other things that do not align with that to exist. But I want to talk about that because also on my other channel, Divine Beingness, I talked about how it's hard to really raise in the type of vibration that you are, the goal that you want as far as unconditional self love is raising your vibrational frequency. It's hard to do that in a low consciousness. It's hard to do that living under a system that is completely divided. It's really hard to do that when you are already kind of a slave to a particular system. Say United States of America, when you're already a kind of an indentured servant, you're already a slave to taxes, you're a slave to IRS. You're in an area where if they make rules where they decide to bring maybe a pandemic back, and even if you might not agree, see, when you are under a system that they control, they make the rules, it gets to a point where it's not even about what you believe. Like people, I remember in 2020, 2021, a lot of people uploaded their videos calling people dumb for wearing face masks and saying, "Oh, don't believe that. Oh, you don't know." It's not about what you believe. You're a slave to a system, and you are. If you have to follow the rules, unless you chose to go outside with a face mask and go into a store, some people like doing that, unless that's just something you like to do, you are a slave to a system. It's just what it is. I do not like paying taxes. I do not agree with taxes, but I have to do it. So guess what? I am a slave to a system. That's just what it is. I don't care if you have your own business, unless you just like paying that amount of money in taxes. Some people don't pay taxes like that, and some of us do. Unless you like paying that amount of money in taxes, you're a slave to a system. But even if you're not paying taxes, you have to have some kind of dependence. You have to claim something, some kind of reason why you don't pay taxes. So the same way, you're still a slave because you can only go so high. You have to have a certain income. You can't go but so high in order to avoid paying high taxes. So you're still a slave with that. You're a slave when you make good money, decent money, and you're a slave when you don't make it. You're a slave to the system. And with that being said, I remember mentioning going to places where they're high in vibration, but I also want to go to a place where it's not centered around finances, because living in the United States of America, I'm seeing, keeps you in your root. There's nothing wrong with being rooted and being grounded, but I'm saying it keeps your consciousness in survival mode. I'm saying that lives in the United States keeps your consciousness in survival mode, not not just because things cost money. It's like you're under a system that pushes division. You're under a system that pushes dog eat dog. You're under a system that pushes competition. You're under a system that pushes, for each his own. And so, like, even if you live where you have to pay for things and where you have to pay for your own place to live, but you have a collective, you have a collective consciousness where everybody helps one another, and nobody sees the other person, because the truth be told, you're only as strong as your weakest link. That's the doggone truth. People are not individuals like they think they are. So it's like you really, as a collective, you're only as strong as your weakest link. And these are just people who think they're superior to others. You're still only as strong as your weakest link. Everybody has been fooled into thinking they're really an individual. Okay. But because we're really part of a collective consciousness, that's just what it is. We're part of a virtual reality. That's just what my beliefs, from what I continue to be seeing, that we are a part of a virtual reality, and you're not really an individual. You're part of a collective consciousness. So even if people who feel like, who have different complexions, you still know different. You're still part of a collective consciousness. That's it. And so I was saying that when you are on a quest to really raise up in frequency, to raise our vibration, and to really truly have unconditional self love like you want to. to where crazy stuff can't even exist. Like you, it's hard to be in a place where things like this exist, where crime just seems to be promoted. Where I was listening to one lady talk about how, a lot of SA cases, actual assaults. I don't know. YouTube gets so sensitive about things these days. Actual assaults, and it just seems like it's just so. It's like a Tuesday now. It's like it don't even matter anymore. It's not only women. It's men, and it's nothing to it. It's nothing to it. You're just in a world where human trafficking means nothing. Child trafficking is nothing. It's really hard when you are under that kind of rulership where the people who are making the rules are the main ones doing it. So you're not really seeing any justice. That's why I never believed in running for office. That's why I never believed in running for office, because you can't run for any kind of office. I'm not into politics anyway, but if I thought things was really fair, then I wouldn't mind being a politician. I really am about making change for the better. But I see what kind of system this is, and you can't call yourself running for office to make a change for the better when you have people who are making the rules, people who are making the laws that are corrupt. It can't work like that. You know, like people look towards a president. Oh, this president's going to do us some. Well, no, because you have other ones over that president that telling that president what to do. That president is just a puppet for the most part. Now, Donald Trump is not a puppet, and I think that's why so many people have a problem with Donald Trump. And I'm talking about people at the top. At the top have a problem with Donald Trump because he is no puppet. He is the puppet master. He is not a puppet. So many people are after him and trying to use people at the bottom saying, oh, all kind of reasons not to like. Not that I'm for Trump. I'm not for anybody. I'm not for Trump or Biden. I'm not into any of it. But the point I'm making is that Trump is not a puppet. Now maybe Biden can be a puppet, and other people, even if you bring in another Republican candidate and that Republican candidate is elected, the new president elect and a Republican, they can still be a puppet. But Donald Trump is no puppet. And I feel like a lot of things that he's going through is because he's no puppet. He's not going to be told what to do. He is the superpower himself. But the reason I say that is because I was saying earlier how some people look to presidents to make change, and the president is only a face that everyone sees, but there is somebody that is above that president and somebody that's above the person that's above that president that's making rules, and at the very top they are very corrupt. They are corrupt. I'm talking about your world leaders are corrupt. There are some places in the world that is untouched by the world corrupt leaders, and but they are probably super high. I don't know how. I haven't been to those places. But I do believe I've heard of them because they have a collective consciousness where not even a nuclear bomb, they can't even be nuked. They are so unified. Their collective consciousness is so strong that it would be a strong force field that nothing could come in. And so you would have to go into those places. You would have to go into them places if you want to go to a place where they have a collective consciousness of what you're looking for, right? High vibration, self love. And you would have to go where their collective consciousness is so strong that nothing can come in. But the problem is, um, those kind of areas have to be careful allowing strangers to come into their force field, you know. Um, and got to be careful going out of those places. They got to be careful visiting to different, you know what I mean? It's like, it's almost like, if I can say, it's like the movie Black Panther where they were hidden in plain sight. They were in the middle of everything, but they were like cloaked. I don't know if that's the best example, but that's the best one I can think of. Like they're invisible. They are invisible. You know, I think towards the end, I gotta watch the first Black Panther again. I think they eventually ended up becoming visible, and that is what can ruin your empire when you become visible to everybody. When in a corrupt world, that really ruins your empire. And I'm making this upload because I'm really speaking to myself that eventually I'm going to have to get out of the United States of America. Yes, I do realize United States of America is not real because this is a virtual reality. I know I am part of an experiment. I've been shown that I've been part of an experiment and I'm in a virtual reality. This part of me is a character inside of a virtual reality. The real me is observing the virtual reality. And this is me, the character of the original me that's observing it. But with that being said, it's like I can only I can only realize that this is not real for so long because I'm under a system where it's you're in survival mode. And so even with knowing all the information that you need to know, you cannot be controlled by a system that's going to keep you in your root chakra. You can't rise, you can't have these kind of people controlling you. Uh, you can't have these kind of people that's constantly making the rules and expect and then expect to just raise your vibration the way you want to be raised when you're under a rulership that is corrupt, that they make sure that your people stay divided and they make sure that people stay in survival mode. You can't be under that rulership. There's going to come a time where I got to get out of the United States. Maybe not forever, but at least for 3 months like I did with India. When I was in India, I was in a place that was not controlled by government, but you still had to pay for your housing. You still had to pay for yourself, so it wasn't. It still was not an environment of we help each other. You still on your own. Even though they tried to get rid of the religion and have everybody come together as one, it was more matriarchal. It was more about the mother. And when this place called Auroville, Auroville, it's in India, South India. It was more about the mother, so it was kind of more going towards the matriarchal side. But you got people there that are already set in their ways. So although they had this mission about all people coming together as one. It's not about color. It's not about religion, and it's certainly not controlled by government. People come together, and they put their creative minds together and they build. It's still kind of separated because people already have their mindsets. People already have the mindset. So I'm gonna tell you something. I'm gonna tell you like this: if I was to go somewhere, and I know I have the mind to do it, but if I was to go somewhere and create my own country, there people will not be allowed to be have different beliefs. That's wrong. No, well, that's the United States right there. When you think about Tibet and some of the parts of Tibet that have the highest frequencies, those people they're not divided. They do not have divided beliefs. It's just they don't. Even if you were to join a group, an organization, or a cult group or whatever, you really can't have divided consciousness. You can't do it. You have to be one. You have to move as a one. You cannot be divided and still be strong. You have to move as one. So even if I was to go and come up with my own country, I already know what's going to be needed. And it's not like you need a bunch of guns and stuff. Yeah, you can have guns and weapons, but other people are going to come with their guns and weapons too. So it has to be something higher in frequency than that. And I believe it was Tibet that I remember seeing a tiny little video about them so many years ago that I wouldn't even remember how to find it. But they were so strong in unity that when they come together, you would have other outside people that wanted to conquer their lands, and you would have other outside people that want to conquer their lands. But their weapons, these outside people, their weapons were not strong enough. Well, I believe it was Tibet. I know it was an Asian area, an area within the continent of Asia. And I really strongly believe it might have been Tibet. It looked like they had on the Buddhist outfit, um, and they don't carry guns and all that stuff, but their collective consciousness was so strong when they were so high in frequency that you can have these people from the outside coming with all their weapons, with all their might, and it was not strong enough to go against these Tibetans, these Buddhist monks or whatever, because they had a collective consciousness. They're not divided. They had a collective consciousness, and they see they are so high and so advanced mentally that they can create whatever they want to create. So these other outside folks with their low consciousness, with their weapons and their low consciousness using their hands, come trying to come against these, I believe it was these Buddhists, but these Buddhists were very strong and advanced mentally that they can create whatever weapon they want to create and go against their behinds. Right? And that's what I'm talking about right there. So if I was to create my own world, and anybody don't matter what color they are, you can't be divided in your you can't be divided. It's not going to work. You know, even when you look at the movie Black Panther, and I know some people might have negative things to say about Black Panther, but the point I'm making is they weren't really divided, and the moment they were divided was the moment they would fall. That's it. United we stand, divided we fall. You might be strong by yourself, but you can only be so strong by yourself. You're going to have a collective consciousness where you guys going to have to share the same beliefs. You know, uh, not. And when I say the same beliefs, I'm not talking about completely 100% the same beliefs, but you have to be united. You just have to be united. Okay. Uh, I want to talk about this. When I went, now I realized that that land of Israel is not the real land. That actual area is not the real land of the original Hebrews. But I want to tell you that in 2007, I went on a Holy Land tour. And this is around the time I was, call myself a Christian. And let me tell you, when you have a collective consciousness, it almost does not matter if whatever you believe in did not exist. You will have a collective consciousness where everybody in that area strongly believed in healing. They were, believed in, it was like a high vibration. It's this particular area I went when I was in the Holy Land. And we were like kind of having a revival, right? But because we were in a Holy Land and everybody was so like, oh my goodness, I'm in the Holy Land, it was different than being inside of a church. So when I tell you that a lot of ailments that I had disappeared after leaving Israel, it's because regardless of what existed and what didn't, people were on a higher frequency because of what they believed in. People were on a higher frequency. And so a lot of people who had physical problems and things, they didn't have it after that. And all people were doing is worshiping and praising and doing all that stuff. They were still on a higher frequency. They were still on a high vibration. And when you mix in a collective consciousness on a higher vibration like that, a lot of sicknesses that you have, whether you have allergy problems, fibroids, you constantly stay consumed in a high consciousness like that. It's like you raise up in higher vibration along with you raise up along with the atmosphere, and a lot of problems that you had before, it just goes away. you know but anyway, that's it. So yeah, I just want to go back to, because I'm about to end this now. Yes, I want to go back to like how I started. Like, you only can rise so high in vibration. You only can have so much self-love and whatever you want under a rulership that is corrupt. You can only go so high under a corrupt rulership. The only thing that you can do is survive in that corrupt rulership, and it's going to keep you in survival mode no matter how much magic you know. You're under a rulership where somebody else is making the rules, and it's like it's only so much you can do. But with that being said, I will talk later.